Easy E, how are
Sean.
we? What is the story? How you getting on?
So, right. I was flying there, right?
Literally flying, because people say they're flying, they're not actually literally, but you're literally
I wasn't
flying.
training, I was flying.
Okay.
But I went into the hills, into the mountains, and I was looking at them like, my God, this is beautiful. And then I was just flying around enjoying it. And then the thought creeped into my head. I was like, oh, how horrible would it be to have to run from down here to up there looking at the hills. I was just having a great day, and then I actually started thinking about how unfit I am and the effort it would take me to run to the top of a hill. I was disgusted with myself.
It sounds like you're feeling bad that you're not getting much training lately.
No, not getting a lot in, but it's feeling bad. But yeah, it was bad that, like, from the comfort of my little seat in the helicopter, I barely moved. Like, my fingers and feet would be doing a little bit, and then I thought of the effort it would take. We landed in by the lakes, and we were beside this hill, and I was just looking to the top of it. I was like, oh my God, imagine the effort. I'd be sick all over the place. Anyway, that's my little confession today. Yeah, when you're not training as much, you get that little bit of fear of getting unfit.
Getting that fear of getting back in and get going again. But I have news for you.
Oh.
I was doing a little bit of research, and by research I mean now Googling. And I found that just 4 seconds of sprinting can help you get fit. Just 4 seconds. And you must be thinking, good God, it must be my birthday. Well, guess what, Eric Lawless? It is your birthday, so happy birthday, Mr. Lawless.
Happy birthday, yeah.
On that note, we'll go straight into the intro music, and I'll tell you more about Eric, how you can get back fighting fit in just 4 seconds. Of course, a huge catch to just
Now,
4 seconds thing. But
when you were saying it, like, I know we're doing a podcast, but my brain lives in the gutter, and you were like, how to get fit in 4 seconds. I was thinking there's a lot of lads out there very proud of their fitness right now. So I'm sorry for the joke, but I'm not editing that out. You know,
well, on that bombshell, I suppose we'll get straight into it.
Tell me how I can get fitter in 4 seconds.
So there was this research done by the Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, which sounds like no, they're talking about. They got 11 healthy, active young men and women to push themselves through 30 repetitions of 4 second all-out intervals on a bike with 15 seconds rest in between. They did it for 3 times a week for 8 weeks, totaling just 48 minutes of training over 2 months. They did no other exercise prior to these intervals. At the end of the 8 weeks, they had 13%. They added 13% aerobic fitness goal and 17% to their muscular power, measured by how many watts they produced while pedaling on the bike. So they got fitter. 4 seconds of work. Phenomenal. Brilliant.
Yeah, but, like, what was their goal? What was their baseline fitness? Did they peel them off a couch and throw them onto it?
Well,
because if someone does nothing ever, then obviously they're going to get 13% fitter if they all of a sudden pedal their legs once to 3 times a week.
That is one caveat to it. It does say they were active. How active is one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is the lead up into those 4 seconds. They're not just going all out 4 seconds. So it's a great catchy headline, and in fairness, the article I'm reading on actually gets into that, where a lot of these clickbait stuff doesn't get into the thing behind it. You got to build up to those 4 seconds. Like, I don't know about you, you're getting old now. Like,
yeah.
I know you got the big boots and all on you, but if you went out for an all-out sprint as fast as you could without any warm-up right now, I don't know about you, my hamstring would go bang, pop, gone. So what they did in this was they had to build up their training. So they got the 10-minute warm-up in, they got some strides building up towards a 90% intensity, and then they ran up to, I had a gentle gradient to run up towards a max capacity for 4 seconds. So it wasn't like stopwatch, bang, 4 seconds, bang, stop, because you're not building max speed in 4 seconds. So they had to build towards that max speed and then go all out for 4 seconds and then walk back down 15 seconds and repeat that 30 times.
Yeah.
That is a woeful session. So you can take your 48 minutes and put the actual time to warm up in it, you can shove it.
Yeah, sure. 3 times a week. There's a half hour a week extra onto this 48 minutes. So if you've a 10-minute warm-up and then some building into it,
it's a sprint session.
Yeah, no, it is a sprint session.
Sprint session.
It's an interval session.
It's horrible. No, I used to do on...
Now, 4 seconds, you'd find it very hard to spool up your legs to be all out in 4 seconds.
Yeah, so it'll take time. So you want to go 10, 15 seconds in.
A 5 second interval
at
to
least.
Just build up, but then it's like, okay, now I'm at my max. 4, 3, 2, 1.
You consider building up to that and then only having a 15-second rest, I would puke. I mean, like, I've done like assault bikes. I can't remember I talked before in the podcast where I'd go for a 10-second all-out sprint and I'd build up towards it. Like, this would be at the end of the session as well. Yeah. So my 10-second all-out sprint wouldn't be the same as if I was fresh. I'd go 10-second all-out sprint, 50 seconds rest, and then go again. And the fitter you are, the harder it is, because the fitter you are, the more, we talked about a second ago, like muscular endurance, muscular power, the more power output you can have, which means you go more all out. Like we've said before about like 100-meter sprinters. When they do 100 meters and they do it in less than 10 seconds, they're dead because they give absolutely everything. And they mightn't go all out again for another 2, 3, 4 weeks for 100-meter sprint. So obviously I'm nowhere near that level, but still my all out effort at the end, after those 10 seconds of all out, I'm done for 50 seconds. Like if you just started training, getting into training, it's not something you should do because you won't have the output after 10 seconds. You won't feel as tired as someone who's stronger and stronger than myself, that's able to go all out, that will need 2 to 3 minutes rest to get that same output if it was measured on watts on a bike, for example. But I do that 6 times, and halfway through I'm like, this is the worst session of all time. I damn near get sick.
Yeah, and I suppose coming back, a lot of people are getting back playing sport and rugby and everything this week, and like if you just think of your pre-season training, and we've talked about it before, like they tend to add in these sprinty things as kind of a realization of how unfit you are.
Yeah.
So you'll see the 2 cones and it's like, oh, we're going here and back and here and back, and you're like, oh no. And after the first one, you're like, oh yeah, you kind of get your second win for the second one, but after the third and fourth, you're looking for the ditch.
Exactly, and you don't need that much sprints and stuff at the start of pre-season training stuff. I don't think you need any sprints. I think it goes back to building up that aerobic endurance for 2-3 weeks and just getting yourself back moving again. Especially the older you get. Now I'm joking about saying getting old and stuff, but there is something behind it. Like I most when you hit your 30s and stuff, you can't just hop onto an AstroTurf and play football and go all out. You do need to get that warmth and stuff in. Otherwise, the niggling injuries from building up the 15 years of playing sports starts catching up, like, and you will get more strains and stuff a lot easier. Yeah. Same with the all-out sprints.
It is something that we kind of. I remember when you'd come home from school, you'd eat your dinner, you'd be onto the Astro within 15 minutes. Warm up doesn't matter. You're pinging balls into the top corner,
and
no repercussions whatsoever. And then from that training, you were gone to some other training with a bar in between. Like it was. Like it just didn't matter, and it just shows the flexibility you have naturally in you. But now, like, I'll go for a run with you on a Sunday. I'll get a cycle in. But if I was to do something dynamic, we'll call it, like everything I'm doing is in a straight line. When I'm on the bike, the legs are just up and down. It's a straight piston. It's up down, it's up and down. If you were to add in sprints around corners or changing direction, my body is going to feel that every one of those changes of direction. It's going to feel like I just can't do it without limbering up to it, I suppose now. Like it's you just, even I laughed about running up a mountain. Like my lower back's going to feel that. It's like the quads are going to feel it, the calves are going to feel it because they're just not used to it. Like it's like my mum, for example, we went on a walk in Phoenix Park. One, because I needed to walk, I couldn't run. Fat shit. But, so we went for a walk. But Mum walks every day. She does a litter pick, tidy town. She gets out, she gets involved. 64 years of age and relatively fit enough for her age. But I wanted to bring her on a walk because Mum likes to go for a stroll. Yeah. But I was bringing her for a walk. So we, she didn't know it. But she was strapped into the journey. So we went, usually everyone knows the Phoenix Park, relatively flat, except for the way I brought her. Yeah. So we went down kind of the back towards Chapel Lizard and down through the Furry Glen, or whatever it's called, the back of Mary's Hospital there. So I added in a good few hills and steps. But by the time we got to the last hill, I could hear the huffing, the puffing, and halfway up the hill, she just had to stop. Her calf was going, everything. She got a cramp in her calf. And it just shows that, no disrespect to Mum or her age, but when you're not used to doing something, those changes can have drastic effects on the body. And that is an extreme example of a walk, up and down hills. She walks every day, but that change of circumstance, you don't get away with it when you get older. For me now as well, I went and played 5-a-side last week, and I'd say about 20 minutes of running and kicking, and to say I was in a heap the next morning, just because the changing in direction, the kicking, everything else. And I used to just show up, play ball, and now I'm actually double thinking. I'm like, will I'm gonna be sore for 2 days afterwards. I don't really want to,
because you're not used to it as well.
Not used to it. Building up that tolerance.
And the thing is, people may listen to your story about your mum and thinking, oh, you push her too hard and stuff like that. But people are doing that in their own training day in, day out. They go into the gym, they're doing, their 3 sets of 10 reps of all these exercises. The next day they do the exact same thing, and there's no adaptation to it. And what you did with your mother's walking is you added that adaptation. You increased the intensity of that workout. So now she was doing the exact same distance, but it's harder. You don't need to always go longer and things. The run doesn't always be longer. It just has to be ways to make it harder. So your mum, you made it harder by adding the hills. And people don't get results in the gym because they're doing the exact same exercises, the exact same rep range, the exact same weights every single week. And they're like, why does it not make a difference? Because you're just used to it. That's your norm. That's your baseline now. If you're not adding that extra little bit, I'm not saying huge amount, but that extra 10%, like we always say 10% to the weekly mileage if you're building towards a marathon or something. If you're not adding that extra little bit, that adaptation is just not going to be there, and you're not going to get results.
Yeah, and it's like, it is like, I get very comfortable. Very comfortable. Mondays is this run, Wednesdays is that run, cycle this and then. And that's where people kind of give out about the technology, the watch, the whole lot. And sometimes we say, sometimes you do need to turn it off. But when you have that much accessibility to your Swift on the bike, or you have your Garmin, you have that. There's 2 ways you can go. You can fall into that, do the same thing all the time, or you can kind of dive into, what's this workout? Or what if I did a fartlek instead today, instead of an interval? Or, how do I change it up? So it's a double-edged sword, having all the technology. You can get very good at it, and it can remind you to do the same workout at this time, and you even going to the gym or the swim. But if you don't have something, or some people require someone to push them that little bit, you can just find yourself getting stagnant. And then it's kind of a use it or lose it kind of thing. If you're not using the muscles, you're going to lose it. And you don't know you've lost it because you're fit. You're running. Your resting heart rate's 43. You're able to run 21k in an hour and a half. But then we're going to do hill sprints, and you're going to find you will recover quicker because you're fitter. But
and sore. It's one of those things we did. I know we made a ton of mistakes the first marathon, but even we were talking to a friend afterwards, and he was like, "Well, how much hill running did you do in your training for the marathon?" He was like, "Oh, we added miles." But we were like, here, I'm doing a flat course day. I'm doing we did whatever we did, like up to 10 miles, whatever our max was at that stage. And we did, it was like, right, Minute where we were living at the time was fairly flat. So we stuck to flat. And then we got Dublin, we're going up that massive hill, heading down Chapel Lizard, and we're both in a heap. We're like, what happened there? I was like, well, we didn't train for that element of it.
Yeah.
So it's training for all the different elements to your point that you need to do. If you're just sticking with flats and your route is all hilly, just like we talked about before with the Madrid Marathon, if we're just running, in cold weather, getting used to it, like what you did, making yourself more uncomfortable, throwing on the extra layers and feeling that extra heat and trying to get through that and towards that adaptation for the end goal, that's when you're adding you can add intensity in that way. You can make it a little bit harder.
Yeah. Speaking of which, it was cold this morning.
It's getting cold, isn't it?
No, I wasn't happy.
It's woolly hat season. I was at work yesterday morning at 6, and my God, cold.
I wasn't happy. I was up at 6:30, and I've never owned a dressing gown in my life.
I thought you called it a house coat.
It is a house coat, but then sure, listeners will complain and stop listening. So anyway, I haven't had a house coat since it was a Power Rangers one when I was about 8 years of age.
Right.
But I had to go into hospital the other day, and it says bring a dressing gown. I was like, ooh, posh hospital. I'll bring me house coat, thanks. And
nice little slippers with it as well. Now, nice little slippers.
So I was like, I don't own a house coat. My pajamas are me jocks. And I get into bed. So I was like, right, over to Dunn's I go. So got me house coat, got pajama trousers, pajama t-shirt. I have slippers now. Right. I always wear my slippers out to the bike because it's just nice transiting out with your little slippers on. Look, little hugs going to the bike, So anyway,
that's why I don't cycle.
Yeah, slippers. So where was it going? Cold. Yes.
Cold, yeah, freezing.
So I got up this morning,
Baltic,
and I was like, ooh. And I didn't know whether it was the age getting to me. Was it this? Was it mental? Was it still feeling a bit unwell and whatever else? I put on my house coat. And I have to say, it was the most magical thing I've ever done. I don't understand why I've deprived myself from wearing a dressing gown in the house for so long, but you know what? It was magic. But tangent, yes, and I love it. And they're €16 in Duns. If anyone's going out, they're fantastic. So
because Duns, what Duns need right now is advertisement plugging from us.
Well, anyway, I just like to share the fun. So anyway, my point is, it's at that time of year where we have to decide on the clothing we're going to wear. We can't just go out in the shorts and t-shirt and hope for the best anymore. It's a fine line, and big mistake I sometimes make. And then I've kind of drifted to the other side. When it was cold, I would have on the tracksuit bottoms, the 2 t-shirts, the jumper, the hat, and I'd be like, I'm warm now. I'm going to start running.
Yeah.
After about 5 minutes, I very quickly learned that was a very, 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 very bad idea. So we're starting to get to that stage now where we need to start thinking about the clothes we're wearing. Yeah. It's getting darker a little bit earlier. We'd have to start thinking reflection. If we're going to wear any lights, are we telling people where we're going? Are we running on country roads? Is it necessarily safe? So I know it was a big tangent about my beautiful house coat, but it is something we have to start looking at. Maybe moving into the long sleeve t-shirts and stuff. So there are some great deals online. And it's kind of like the end of summer kind of sales, races that didn't happen, t-shirts, Under Armour, everything that's kind of good in. So I got a good kind of long sleeve Under Armour, and it's luminous orange. It's kind of like the night run we did. We got those but obviously being Under Armour, it's a nicer feel on the body and it looks well. But I think I got that for like 15 quid or 16 quid or something like that. So there is great deals out there for your kind of wintry running gear.
So an Under Armour top is the exact same price as a dressing gown?
Yeah, listen, I'm a bargain hunter.
I'm just asking. Just putting little parallels out there, people.
I'll go running in the dressing gown. I'll go running in the t-shirt and I'll see which was the better value for the job I bought it for. But yeah, it is getting cold. It's getting to that little bit miserable. And I suppose this is the hard part for people to motivate themselves in now, really, isn't it? It's, can we still get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go for a run?
No.
Are we better off? I'm definitely not.
I'm not early. I just realistically not doing it.
So what'll have to happen for me anyway, I don't know, you kind of have to change your routine. So what will I do in the morning? I have to think, like, realistically, I don't like getting up early, but if I'm going to do something, I'll lift weights. Yeah. Or I'll possibly get on the bike for a maximum of a half hour. I don't want to get on the bike for an hour and a half before work. So yeah, just people have to start thinking about, one, clothing. Will their routine last the winter? Because this is where people can fall off the wagon, because it's not just people are going back to school, work is starting to up, weather is changing. So you kind of have to look at your routine and see, does your routine suit the conditions? Like, you can have any routine in the summer. It's bright from 5 in the morning till 11 at night. If you miss it in the morning, sure, I'll go tonight. It'll still, you know. So now you kind of have to be that little bit more strict. You kind of have to think about your clothing, and it is important. For me, I always wear a hat.
Same. When it gets to the end of September, I'll start sitting on the woolly hat. I like the ale.
The reason being, it's hard work. Yeah. It keeps that heat in, so that even if you decide that you're wearing your shorts and t-shirt, you're going to be hot. You're going to be feeling the heat. And I find good hats don't tend to soak through as quickly, like decent hats or decent kind of woolly beanies, so that when you take off your hat, when you finish, couple of minutes later you can turn it the other way and you can kind of cool yourself down and stay warm, you know, like,
we talk about it that way, but yes,
so when you cool down, then you turn your hat inside out. It's not hopefully not as wet. Some of them are really good, some of them soak right through and you're kind of goosed either way. And you can always have a second one in the pocket, because what people forget is, okay, I've ran my 5k, I now have such a walk back to the car, or I need to cool down. That's where you start to get sick and stuff. So a lot of people, probably what we'll talk about next week, Sean, we might kick into, like, what supplements should we start taking now we're coming into the winter months? What way should we be looking after? You know, vitamin C coming in, less sunlight, we need to be getting on our vitamin D. You know, should we be taking more supplements on this, that and the other? You know, it is something to think about. It's something I focus on as well. I start to take on some green teas and hot drinks after a run, just to kind of keep the body temperature up and everything else. It might have no benefit to me, but mentally it helps me warm back up. I always make sure, if I'm training, particularly when it's colder, change of clothes in the car, always. I will have 2 or 3 change of clothes in a bag in the car for any event, because if I get wet on a run, that way I'm not worried about if it's raining. But when I get back to the car, strip and get into
100%, 100%,
as quickly as you can. And people think, well, it wasn't raining, but you were sweating.
And you're going to be more colder now in the car. When will have it heat up or a half hour on my yoke anyway.
Yeah, and you're better off just taking off everything, putting on the dryer, warm gear. Always have a little towel to dry off as well. Again, grand in the summer because the temperature's not going to drop enough for it to have an effect.
Yes.
But when it comes into the winter, that chill will kick in about 5 minutes, and that's when you start to notice the sniffles coming. You're not going to be up to your best. Training will be hindered by illness. So it is something to think about. Definitely, we might look into that a little bit deeper now.
I suppose the bottom line, that before we get deeper into a later podcast, is we've talked before, if you're going out and it's cold out, you're not too sure what to wear. We've said before, always dress if it's 5 to 10 degrees, that little bit warmer. And we talked about this week on our Facebook group. And one of the comments, which was perfect on it, goes, one of the lads, shout out to Owen, was like, he always wears a jacket purely for a safety point of view. Like, just like your point with your luminous orange Under Armour, is that like some people on the rural country roads and stuff like that, and probably late at night you can't do the run, but some of the run during the time you probably can. But just you have to wear a jacket because, you know, reflective stuff like that. And it's not as bright as it was for those summer months. I suppose touching the other thing you're talking about is training and not getting as motivated for training. You know, I know you are looking towards May 2022 for your Ironman. It's kind of like, well, could we build some sort of baseline now towards that? Like for myself, we're recording this on a Friday afternoon, and I'll pop up a post there. It's 30 days into the October bank holiday weekend, so it's 30 days to the virtual marathon. And all I'm doing that is just building my mileage now. I haven't done much in the last week or so, to be totally honest with you. But overall, building my mileage towards that. I'm getting my gym workouts in. But then once the marathon is done, I'm going to knock the mileage back. Purely just because I love doing it. I'm going to go a little bit of bulking season and go 2 upper body, 2 lower bodies, days of splits, and just get the strength training, be mostly indoors. I might use the treadmill a little bit, and then I still love my Sunday runs. I won't go any more than 10 miles. I just like getting 10 miles, halfway out, halfway back, or into the park, get my 10 miles in, and then that's my Sunday. Just having that routine so I don't totally lose that. It's more of a maintenance phase. I'm not trying to go faster, slower. It's just building up that aerobic endurance, probably trying to keep the heart rate down and just enjoy those runs. Get it in. I'm not even looking at times or anything. I'm just get it in, build it, and then once the new year comes, I go, okay, what's the goal here? Find my goal, work my way back to January, and then that's how my training will go in the year. That's what's keeping me true now, is just I have gotten to the stage where I enjoy those Sunday runs when I'm doing them. So I want to keep that going instead of losing that completely.
Yeah, and I think you're right in the sense you stuck on the marathon plan. When we found out the marathon was kind of axed, I transitioned into, all right, I'm going on to the more triathlon route, and I wasn't covering the same kind of miles because I was aiming for 5-10k runs, so there was no need, you know.
Yeah.
My focus switched to the bike and the swims. And then we haven't really been doing then, and I'm like, oh, should I have done the marathon with Sean? But it's too late, and it'd be silly to think in 4 weeks I could put in those kind of miles.
That's where injuries happen. Yeah,
that's where it is. So for me, it's a case of I'm going on holidays on that bank holiday weekend. I'll send you some pictures from a beach.
Can't wait.
And so bulking season has happened for me, whether I've liked it or not. So, but I'm actually looking forward to lifting weights. I haven't done it in quite a few years.
Yeah.
Body weight. I'm always for body weight. I'm always for my push-ups and my sit-ups and trying to keep those kind of intact as much as I can. And I'll use 2 kilo dumbbells or 5 kilo dumbbells or shoulder presses, and I'll put my feet on a wall and do a kind of a half a shoulder press that way, and just body weight keep strong, because I'm naturally, I'd say walking around, I should be 90 kilos.
Right.
When I was running during the summer, I got down to 83.5 kilos. So I was very thin, which was fantastic for the running. Probably not great for how I looked in terms of health.
Right.
But I felt light, which was important. I was getting quicker, which also helped. So now I'm going back onto the whole, I've stopped training. Not much. I'm doing maintenance is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm going for a 5k here and there. I wouldn't consider myself running fit at the minute, but I can definitely, if you said we'll go run a 10k, I'll go out and do a 10k, no problem.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of getting unfit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm going back lifting weights, and I'm going to try and see what I'm like hovering around the 90 kg.
Right.
But usually I'd go in and I'd get the disco muscles done and I'd be looking well for my holidays. But this time I'm going to focus weights on areas where I find my weaknesses. So I'm going to do the weights as per normal. You know, everyone does their chest, everyone does their back. The hamstrings, the glutes, the quads, I'm going to focus on not lifting heavy, but lifting weights to be focused on. So I did lunges 4 weeks ago.
Right. We bringing this up?
We're bringing it up.
Okay.
Did lunges for leg day. I was like, right, first leg day in a while. We'll take it easy. Leg press machine. Oh yeah, looking good. Felt strong. Up the weight. There we go. Do a few lunges. Well, I get 4 kilos each hand. 5. 10. Right, 10 kilos each hand. Then I did a lunge. I did 2 lunges. I did 3 lunges. On the 4th lunge, my hamstring said, you know what, you can go now, Lois. You can go and get it yourself. And that was my leg day done.
Man, disgusting, he told me.
A tap. It has been that long since I've put weight onto the legs. Bar, you know, free squats, bar my own lunges, like just lunging around body weight. But just adding that little bit of weight absolutely shot me. Now, I hadn't trained in a couple of weeks before, which didn't help, but all I could do was get on the treadmill and put it on an incline and go for a walk.
Well, 50 or 60% of the guys listening to this probably don't cop the massive mistake you did, but I bet most of the women did, and I mean that in a good way. You're like, always focus on the chest, the back, and then I'm going to focus on more things like the glutes, the hamstrings and the quads, and the lads be like, yeah, we need to focus more on glute and hamstring strength and all the rest, and the girls are like, lower body day, you do squats. And it's like, well, guys don't do that. I'm a guy, guys are dumb. We grew up on bench press, and we shouldn't have been in bicep curls and stuff like that. And that's why, rounded shoulders and all the rest, like, guys aren't putting that on. It's because they're training all the muscle groups. And thankfully you said back, because a lot of guys don't train back. They just do chest, buys, shoulders, tries, and literally, tight t-shirt season is back again. You know,
the sides, the side that faces the mirror looks well, and that's
the mirror muscles exactly.
And that's where. So I'm finding as well that the shoulders are a little bit rounded. Yeah, posture isn't looking good. So a lot of movements like Y's and T's, lying on the belly, they will humble anyone. And even the biggest, strongest of people who are all disco muscles doing Y and T exercises on their back, you'd probably be surprised with their lack of range, their lack of flexibility, and how difficult they find it.
If you're unsure of how hard it could be, literally lie down on your stomach and do a breaststroke. And do 20 reps of breaststrokes. Try and keep your arms and hands up as high as you can off the ground. The 2 hands going at the same time. Because I don't know how to swim. That's how you breaststroke in my mind. So 2 arms at the same time. Go for 20 reps. Just see how your back and shoulders feel while doing that. And if they ain't burning, you're probably doing something right in the gym. And if they're burning a fair bit, you're kind of like, oh, the round shoulders not a kicking in. Just blast at the reps. Make sure you get full range of motion. And you will feel it. But to your overall point, if you're struggling with your training right now, and what I really like with what you're doing is you're finding something you want to do and what you like to do. And with the events and stuff now coming up, for you anyway, it's a good thing. It's go, what should I do? Well, this person's getting fit doing this. This person's getting fit doing this. You're like, no. I want to do this. I want to do more weights. I want to get, for the next 2-3 months, I want to bulk. I want to do this. And that's what we're hearing. Whereas other people will go, well, what's the best way to do this? And it could be something like we talked about last week's podcast. It could be something that they absolutely hate doing. They try to force themselves doing. And eventually you will quit because you won't always keep loving to do. You won't always keep doing something that you absolutely hate and detest and despise, when there's other ways to do it as well. So this time of year, if you have no specific goals, but you want to get a bit more fit and active, find something you like doing. And things are opening up for that kind of stuff you like doing. But if you are doing sports, get a good warm up in.
Yeah. Even in the gym, it's one thing I've noticed. If I'm going to do even the smallest, even if it is a bicep upper body day, I'm still getting on the bike for 10 minutes. I'm getting things moving. I'm kind of getting myself into the room as such and focusing on it. It is nice to change it up and do something that I haven't done in quite a while. And I think that's what has me. I can run, I can cycle, can't really swim. We're working on it. But it's definitely just, I think for anyone else who's similar to myself, it's just nice to change. Change is good every now and again. So the plan is to kind of keep that going up until going on holidays with some runs with yourself. I'll probably go in and do a 10 mile on a Sunday and just keep in touch with it. I'm not afraid to lose that fitness or the VO2 max or whatever my watch is going to tell me is going to happen. because I'm going to be gaining fitness elsewhere. I'll still be eating well and looking after the body and pushing it in different ways and seeing what else we can do. And I'm trying to just be that little bit more versatile rather than just that straight line, cycle, run, swim. And it's just going to be enjoyable. It's going to be a nice change of pace. And yeah, it'd be nice to kind of post. We always talk about running. It is a running podcast, but we talk about all sports.
100%.
We talk about everything and anything that wants to do. It could be paddleboarding, which, by the way, I think would be very difficult. I don't think I could stand on a paddleboard for an hour.
You might find out in 24 hours whether you can or not. On that note, we have to wrap up today's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast because we are off for a weekend and we've no idea what exactly is in store for us. But I've heard the rumblings that we could be paddleboarding tomorrow. I hate the water, man. My ankles are going to freeze.
And on that bombshell.
Guys, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. That is it for myself and Eric. Take care.